Yeah, we're back. Time to get to your calls. It's Disturbed with us tonight on Rockline. The whole band is here. Dan and Mike and John and David. Taking your calls at 1-800-344-ROCK. First up tonight from Liscombe, Iowa. Kevin, you're on Rockline.
My question is, have you guys started a fourth album yet?
Not yet. In the works.
But you want to, based by the introductory statements we had.
Definitely getting the itch to get back in the writing mode. So
nothing written formally yet, no studio time booked or anything like that.
No.
Just getting the itch a little bit there. Yeah,
definitely.
Kevin,
very eager.
I do admit that at this point, it does get a little scary at first because we've had some success on 3 albums in a row. We had 2 number-1 albums, back-to-back number-1 albums, and we've, had platinum records, and we're selling tickets. So there's a little bit of that fear of, trying to, make sure that we continue writing good music. I don't think we would put it out ourselves if we didn't feel as strong about it and didn't feel like we were offering something, fresh, or if we were offering something that, in our eyes, is progressing and becoming better.
Madison, Wisconsin. Music as a Weapon 3, end of the tour, last show. Finishing off Music as a Weapon 3 was an awesome experience for us. It was one of the coolest, biggest tours we were able to do on our own as a headlining run.
Weapon ended things on a nice high note. The attendance was awesome the whole run, and it left people with a good, big rock show impression of the band, which is just what we wanted.
I couldn't keep my arms up long enough.
Got to do a drum solo for the first time in my career. I was a little shaky and a little nervous about it at first, but the rest of the guys were really cool and supportive of it, and it was fun, once we started doing a couple of them.
The production on the last Disturbed tour, Music as a Weapon 3, was huge, intense, immense. The whole band put a lot of work into it.
We were looking to end on a big note. We always wanted to bring in the pyro and have the big, rock show, the big metal show, and blow stuff up.
It takes a lot out of you, being up there with all that fire. It's already hot with lights. You add fire, it's extra hot.
Sweated a little bit more, but it was, it was cool.
The end of Weapon, we were just cashed. I mean, we were very happy. The tour was fun. We're tired. Gotta write a new record. Obviously, at the end of it, we were tired. Dead tired.
On the next fucking day. Yeah!
I think our exhaustion and our elation at successfully completing the record cycle at that point was probably no better showcase than the destruction of that dressing room in Madison.
We destroyed that dressing room.
Jeff, will you open my beer bottle for me?
I will.
That was bad. That was, I think, the worst we've ever been damage-wise to a room.
We're not dressing room destroyers by nature. It's not a thing we like to make a habit. Although there's been maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 more times in the past. There's been a small handful of times in the past that we've done it.
We've never messed things up like that before.
All I know is that there were sinks on the walls when we got in there, and they were not on the walls when we got out, and there was water flowing everywhere and a couple of broken TVs. We go in knowing that any damage we do, we have to pay for, so it's not like, you know, we're idiots about it. But then maybe that makes it kind of fun, because you're like, well, fuck it. $200, $500.
And then Tyler tried taking the hose and feeding it back into the P-trap, and that didn't work, and it went spraying all over the damn place. And everybody got it. Of course, Mikey. If somebody's breaking shit, there's, of course, Mikey.
It was just a way to let it all out. And plus, everybody knows when I drink, I like to break shit. You're gonna die, dear!
That almost fucking hit me in the head.
You and me, motherfucker. We got an appointment right the fuck now. That's right. The ultimate break shit experience.
It was a great record cycle. I mean, it was more successful than I think we anticipated and imagined given the environment. But we've always been fortunate in that way.
Even though we talked about like continuing on beyond Christmas, when Christmas came around, I think we all were like, let's just stop.
Let's wrap this one up and go home and take a very short break, and then we just wanted to start writing. Good tour, Dan. Good tour, Dan. Not really. No, good tour. Not really good tour, Dan. Hey, good tour. Woo.
I think that at the end of Fists, you always have a dawning in your head, the whole notion of, okay, this is what I feel is the best work we've been able to do to date. How are we gonna either match or surpass what we already did?
That's the only time I get a little bit worried, you know, because you always think, oh, what if I have writer's block this time? What if I can't do it right away? I wanted to start getting in writing mode as soon as possible, at least the music end of things with Mikey, mainly because of his wedding and the birth of my child. I wanted to have a lot of the music written before that, because I knew that at that point there would be a little bit of downtime with the honeymoon and with me having some time with my son and making sure everything's okay there and playing daddy for a bit.
But daddy is crazy.
Hey! You better stop that.
I think February, Mikey and Danny started getting together to work on some ideas to throw at me.
The anticipation was killing us.
We came to the conclusion, without trying to duplicate or recreate the sickness, we wanted more of that attitude, more of that vibe.
Where my head was at and where it continued to be at with all the things that had gone on in my life. And I just had a whole bunch of really horrible personal shit go on, one thing after the next.
Inside the Fire.
It was Inside the Fire.
Otherwise known as Inside Dave's Garage.
It led me to telling him, just give me the darkest, nastiest, most aggressive shit you can throw at me.
Kind of tells you what direction this motherfucker's going in, huh?
It's definitely one of our most dark records, if not the darkest.
I know that this band doesn't ever want to write the same song twice. But given that, Disturbed still has a sound. And let's call it a bag of tricks, you know, that we can reach into.
This record in particular, we brought back a little bit more of the more staccato, rapid fire type of vocal delivery.
You got your rhythmic vocal lines from Sickness. You got your melodic vocal lines from Believe. You got some of the tribal drum patterns that are like on 10,000 Fist. You have guitar solos on here. Those are some cool elements that are still part of our band. Why, you know, we shouldn't shy away from that.
We're still trying to, evolve and try different things.
But this one's kind of back to that sort of aggression, anger that put the band on the map.
I personally think that this record is the most complete Disturbed to date.
It's a good place to be. It feels good. This record feels good.
That's right, kids, day one, and boy did I miss being on camera every second of the day. I can't wait.
Going back to work. Album number 4, here we go.
I don't even know where my bases are. Hopefully they made it. Otherwise, I'm gonna hum my parts.
That's right. That's how we do it in the land of Disturbed.
Mike, record, now. Fuck. Want to be able to pay for that phone bill? You gotta make a record.
As soon as we got off the road, Music as a Weapon 3 took a short little break, maybe a month or two, and then Danny and Mike went right to it.
We're always tossing around riffs and beats, but it isn't really until we get home and we are able to clear our minds, decompress for a little bit, and then hit it, especially Danny and I, and just start throwing the riffs and the beats out, that the music starts to finally come to life.
The writing process is pretty much the same since the beginning, the start of this band. It's always been riffs, something musically that I'll come up with.
Danny will always have a million riff ideas.
If I'm on my own, I'll just write a few riffs here and there, and I'll record them and I'll put them off to the side and know that we at least have a starting point when we come off the road and it's time to really hit it.
And he may not go back to it among his other 200 riff ideas for another month, year, whatever.
We're on the road, we're touring, and then when we're home, we're writing and recording. It's like we're very mode orientated. We're always thinking about everything else that's going on. Even when we take time off, that just means that I don't necessarily have drumsticks in my hand that day, but I'm always thinking about parts and beats, and I know Danny's always playing the guitar.
And the best thing that's always worked for me was to always do it while I'm at home, and just to be able to come downstairs and sit in the other room and just jam on the guitar and come up with riffs. I have a little Roland V-drum kit at my house, and Mikey has one at his house, and I got a Pro Tools setup, and we have basically identical setups at home, so it's pretty easy and it's all compatible.
And once we have the structure of pretty much a complete song musically, we'll burn it to a CD, we'll send it over to David, and then we'll just wait to hear from him until he has a melody line.
We've been pretty fortunate that a majority of the stuff that we throw at David, he's been able to write to.
Just spoken word, kind of free flow in there. Have you maybe throw some tasty, spacey licks through there, but for half as long as you have it now. I think it was April. I got the first bunch of material from Danny. First I put it in the car, and I only let myself listen to like the first 30 seconds of it, just to kind of feel the riffage, to see if it was like, you know, what I'm used to. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I didn't want to Jones on it too much in the car, because I kind of get crazy about the music when I first get it. I'm not following the rhythm of the guitar hits the same way I was before. It's more distinct. I want to show you. Let's go.
Okay.
Just spent about like 16, 20 hours that first day, just obsessing over the first 3 songs. Hours.
We want to make sure it's going to inspire David, because melodically and vocally, all depends on what the music does to him when he hears it. I know the first song that was written musically was The Night, and as soon as he heard that, he had something relatively quick.
It was at the end of that 3rd day that I finished The Night.
So this is the first song that was written musically for this album, for Indestructible.
I remember calling Danny, I'm like, dude, this is amazing. This shit is good, really good.
I remember David calling me up on the phone and just freaking out on how it triggered something right away for him.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's exactly the direction we want to go.
That was one of the songs that started his flow of lyric writing. And he originally wanted to call the record The Night.
I know I was originally thinking The Night, but that was obviously before the title came through of number 3. Lyrically, it's just kind of meant to portray the night almost as like a living entity that sets you free. You're enveloped by it and masked by it. Mike, you will make a suggestion for me on a harmony that's way in the upper range of ultra falsetto that only, dogs and bats can hear, and I'll go ahead and make a suggestion to him on a drum beat that requires a 3rd arm or something like that.
Why we should support stem cell research, because then you can grow like a higher node, a higher chord. I can grow a third, well maybe a fourth leg.
There you go.
And you can grow a couple more extra fingers. You know what I'm saying?
With fists, it took a little bit more time for me to get to where I was comfortable with this. The instrumentation was so cool and so dark and textural that I right away kind of jumped into it.
And there's been actually a lot of times on the road where we may have like, maybe not a full song, but there's a drum beat or there's maybe a riff of some kind.
The Night was actually one of the riffs that Dan was working on when we were still on the road. We were backstage and he's playing this. I knew it was something he was going to work on for the record, but I remember hearing him play it by himself and I'm like, how the heck is that going to be a song? Because all I heard was that riff. When I got the demo sent to me and I heard it, I'm like, there's that riff. I knew I was gonna hear that thing.
The Night was one that definitely stuck out because I probably played that a little bit more often in the dressing room than some of the others.
And today we're doing bass tracks. And so it helps to have a full set of strings.
I'm only playing,
When I sent him the material to throw down some bass to, I knew that he would recognize that riff.
On this last record, we had John come in, add his 2 cents with the bass lines.
Between this last record and the record before, it's been about 3.5 years since I've first got into the band.
I want a snakeskin amp.
And I was here every day of the studio process for the making of the 10,000 Fists record, even though I was still living back in Austin. This album cycle was different.
I'm going home on maternity leave.
My wife was pregnant at home, so I had to be home more with her.
Tell me about Mikey.
Go be a daddy.
Yeah, I will, buddy.
We tried to give John time to be home back in Texas with his wife while she was pregnant.
Danny gave me some fatherly advice. He said, take a nap on the plane because that's the last sleep that you're ever gonna get.
So I was home, worked on the bass lines in my own home studio, and even though Danny and Mikey were still working together, what they did was they sent me MP3s of the demos.
And I've sent him the material and gave him the stuff to kind of vibe off of and work on.
I probably wrote 4 completely different bass lines to each song. And then I'd sit on it for a day or two, and then I'd go back and I'd listen to him, and I'd be like, okay, that's the one I'm gonna keep.
He was able to lay down some really cool ideas and just, send them back to me.
So I think one of the biggest changes that happens is a trust factor and a comfort factor with the band and myself, because they trusted me to work hard on the bass lines without them being there working with me on them or making sure, that I'm hitting all the right notes or whatever.
I guess that's the beauty of technology, us being here in the south suburbs of Chicago and him being in Texas and be able to, actually put together an album that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you, Papa John. Well, first of all, what'd you do a couple days ago?
Cut my baby's cord.
What are you gonna do today?
I'm a custom bass tracks.
That's right, yeah! You got keys?
What's up, Daddy? Hey, what's up?
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Has his baby delivered just over 24 hours ago. What does he do? He flies in, here to track bass.
We're gonna try and catch up to where these guys are at now.
Yeah.
So.
That'd be cool.
Try it.
All right.
It was just coming together quick. I think we were all in the same mindset of what we wanted to try to achieve. But ultimately, even when we discuss it, it still really depends on when we get in a room together and start just jamming and working on it.
It's one thing to record them on a demo and you're like, I think that sounds cool, I think that works. But to really make sure it feels right and that it is right, you got to get together as a band.
I think the chemistry is just there. I think we kind of all know and anticipate what each guy's going to do and what each guy can do.
The drums down, the guitar down, and the melody lines down, David then starts thinking of lyrics.
I'm a big believer in the vibe of the music and the feel of it. How the song makes you feel musically. should dictate what it is to be about. And so if you start with something that has meaning, but the music doesn't support the meaning, well, what good is it? You know, you got a really cool grooving verse, and then all of a sudden, we like to do stuff with as little limitations as possible. So why not go ahead and write a song from the perspective of a girl in a relationship where she's abused, but it's like that she's thinking about killing him, like you see on the news. It's like, okay, one more time. Look inside, see what has become of her, hiding within again. Can she pick herself up again? It's just too difficult and arduous to let go. My method of leaving lyrics to the very last thing, I mean, even to the point where I have the scat pattern, where it's basically just speaking gibberish and no words, but having a rhythm and a melody for the vocal prior to writing any lyric. And then you have to go ahead and find words that fit the rhythm and the melody that you've already laid down, not only in your head, but probably on tape on a scratch track too.
But the tough part, like you said, is coming up with something that rhymes. Still keeps the concept of the song, and then number 2 still rhymes, and then number 3 fits in the rhythmic pattern of the fucking melody.
And part of that comes from the fact that I feel so strongly about rhythm in general. And so the pocket of the vocal, from a musical perspective, has to really lock in with the rest of what's going on rhythmically, guitar riff-wise, drum-wise, so on and so forth. I mean, I think everybody's going to get the impression from this that I'm pretty jaded from bad experiences in relationships, hate world politics, and pro, U.S. soldier. It's been the case for the past 3 records. First it wasn't, because you got your whole career to write your first record, so if you don't have your lyrics ready by the time you hit the fucking studio, there's something wrong with you. My blood is cold as ice, or so I have been told.
Once we get into the studio, we always set up a little side room for us too to do additional production.
All the pre-pro needs to be done outside.
So we can have, David in the other room tracking vocals.
Laying the scratch vocal in there is actually hugely important. I mean, it enables them to figure out if everything's working together. Just a time bomb ticking inside. No love in the hopeless. I can see the pieces all laid on the run of me. It's the final piece of the puzzle that kind of gets laid in there, and we get to see where if anything rubs, if anything's funky rhythmically. Through this somehow, defying the curse that is taking hold. Never surrender. I'll never be overcome.
I'll just sit there with Mikey. I'll put down a scratch track on guitars for him to play along to. It allows me to throw opinions at him too without me having to just sit there and play my guitar over and over. I could really focus on what he's doing. Just the simple kicks and then come in with the beat. It's nice to be able to sit in that other room outside of the control room and just really dissect the part and focus on every little nuance and every little part of his performance.
Just see if it translates to live, kid. I think that's pretty much it. This record was our first time self-producing.
The label was always cool and cooperative from day one. They allowed us the chance and the opportunity to take a stab at self-producing. The label and everybody's excited. Everybody knows that we're in and we're working and they're looking forward to it. I think we're all pretty comfortable with it. Even though coming off of 2 #1 albums and having the first 3 albums be very successful for us.
And after 3 records, it's just a matter of we learned it. And we'd like to try it.
So this is a very important step in the recording process for us. It's our first time in our careers we're trying to self-produce. We finished the first batch of 5 songs, sent them out to our label, and we're waiting to hear whether or not they approve. If they think that we blew it, when we suck, they're going to bring in a producer and we might have to start from scratch.
You're always waiting to see what their impression is going to be. It's kind of like seeing what your grade is on your exam that you studied for. It's nerve-wracking. What did I get? How'd I do? some people can function around a whole bunch of people and still be creative and still be able to flow. And I can do improvisational kind of stuff left and right, but in order for me to really refine what I'm doing, I need to have peace. And it's basically just me in front of my stereo with the burned CD of the music ideas, going over them again and again and again and again. I go back to my cave to try and finish up these lyrics.
David likes to track in the dark.
I like the conditions to be as dark as possible when I'm tracking, always. Just enough light to see whatever lyrics I need to look at. I need to really kind of shut everything out. I need to forget that I'm in a studio. I need to go back to where my head was at when I wrote the lyrics and try and feel them as much as I can.
Don't tell me I cannot go when the wound that refuses to mend. Deliver me from all of this. I love you to quicken my head.
I think it's probably more challenging to deliver a vocal performance when you have a lot of eyes in the control room watching you do that. You know, some people don't mind when there's people in there watching. Some people like to have their moment to, release that, and you have to respect that.
Especially when you're doing the actual tracking, vibe is really important, and that's just the way he did it.
When we go in and we enter the studio, the songs are very well prepared.
That's right, Criminal. Track.
Structurally, arrangement-wise,
they're very close to completion. We never relied on just going in there with a few ideas and just trying to wing it and see what kind of studio magic could happen.
I mean, this is the record. I don't want to have, yeah, it can be done this way, but it can maybe be done this way better. So let's
just make sure.
Yeah. Okay, here's the word. It's either going to be good or bad.
He didn't touch it yet. He's getting to it now.
Shut up.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so guess what? That wasn't the phone call. So now you'll have to stay tuned, as we do, to find out what the deal is. What the fuck?
Interesting title so far. The Night, Perfect Insanity. Divide, The Curse, Enough, Inside the Fire, Deceiver, Haunted. I love it in that song, and I think it needs to be in these songs. The electronica. And we need to bring it back.
Duly noted.
I really, truly think so. I think that we did consciously want to bring back some of the electronica.
When the basic guitar-based drums were being laid down, at first I didn't really see a whole lot of room for some of the electronics. But as the songs were starting to develop, I was just in that frame of mind of trying to toy around with some of the electronics. It's easy when I go to the store and I pick up a keyboard or a couple of different effects, and first thing I do is start messing around with it and trying to make some noises.
What we call the Danny Donegan Orchestra. How many different little aspects of sounds and things and whatnot that he layers in there.
It's like a whole other instrument. He's not just playing guitar. He's basically like a programmer, keyboard player as well.
When it comes to electronics, he knows what he's looking for. And he will sit there for literally hours.
It's got to drive the other guys crazy because I'm, kind of like a mad scientist of just sitting in front of the keyboard and looping the part over and over and over.
You want to talk OCD? When Danny starts going into Toyland, that's it. And Danny has so many different gadgets. And he'll go ahead and mess with one gadget on one voice, one sound, in every different part of pitch, with every different rhythm, and to try everything.
He does. He'll just sit there and just play the same thing, slightly different variations of it, over and over and over and over.
Oh my God, dude. That was cool. What was wrong with that? Well, but maybe there's something cooler over here. And there might be. And that's the thing that I gotta give Danny, is he's super patient with that shit.
It's that patience and the dedication and the vision that sees it through. What winds up making the record, to me, makes all the difference.
All right, let's just listen one time and then...
This is your little pet song, isn't it? I can tell. I can tell. This is one of his little pet songs. He's really concerned about this one.
I'm concerned about all of them.
I think that's one of the big signature elements of the band, is having that ear candy stuff. Whether it's a little guitar effect or a synth loop or something in the background. It's not a huge element or a part of the song, but if you took it away, the song would definitely be missing something.
All these other tracks here are basically just the ear candy stuff, so I could show you, like when it goes to the verses, this is kind of some of the stuff I had messing around.
And I think that's what I love about our songs, is there's so many different layers of stuff. Is you hear something new every time you hear it, especially if you put it on headphones.
Play it again.
Something over here is. You're near that? Am I going nuts?
The prior 3 records, Johnny K was the producer.
I knew him when he was doing, demos for a lot of the local bands around.
He kind of taught us how to do what needs to be done in the studio.
You could be cool if they were a little more like,
how to layer things in, how to track the record properly, how to do the things that we needed to learn to do. We'd tracked stuff before, but we've never done, more than 2 tracks of anything on any recording.
We learned a lot from him, and we just thought that we'd try and take it another step up in our career.
okay, what's that mean?
This might have something to do with the call we talked about earlier. Stay tuned.
It was nice to get in there and control the tempo of how we were doing things.
In the past, I would dig as deep as I could, and you'd have Johnny K or somebody, suggesting this or that. But this time, I had Dan on the other side of the console.
Yeah, that's a good ending.
Mikey's playing some really intense stuff on this record, so it's understandable that a little help here and there can maybe help streamline the process a little bit.
We wanted Mikey to incorporate a quick cymbal choke.
The real intense part Mikey's doing, and he hits the cymbal and needs to go tss, but he's also hitting something over here.
I could get the choke, but I couldn't get the tightness of the choke.
Because if I hit the cymbal and can't choke it, it'll ring over.
It was like quick snare roll, choke, and right back in the next part. So it was tough to do.
Unless you get Moyer in to do the cymbal choke.
We send John in the other room to attempt to make the catch of the cymbal choke.
Is John Moyer gonna have to choke a cymbal?
Well, he's not a drummer, and so he doesn't know the technique behind a choke. When you choke a cymbal, you hit the front of it and you grab it right away before it has a chance to wobble or move. John was on the back end of the cymbal, so when I hit it to go down, it's gonna come up, and he wasn't expecting that.
So I'm sitting there, and he hits the cymbal, and I reach for it, and of course I miss it.
I don't even think he even caught the cymbal. I think it went to clap his hands or something.
He completely fumbled all over the cymbal.
So he has to do the take again, and I miss it again. Now he's just laughing at me, missing the cymbal, but we're wasting time and money, and Mikey's getting tired. He does half a whole take, and then I keep screwing up the cymbal crash, and he's like,
That ending sucked. I was laughing too hard.
Because the first time we practiced it, you didn't hit it as hard, so I was aiming right here. And
Quit hitting it so hard, right? Jesus Christ. You're making Moyer fuck up.
Stand at the cymbal and choke it.
So finally I was like, got my hands like this far apart, and I was doing a sandwich grab on the cymbal.
John Moyer choking cymbals on the record. See? You never know what you're gonna get. So for all your fans out there, they say, is John Moyer the bassist? He's our bassist and our cymbal choker. We thought it would be pretty cool, especially for the fans, if we brought back maybe a song or two that were actually written during the same period that the Sickness songs were written.
Old version of Divide.
Danny brought in some old demo tapes. I'm talking, we're 12 years old. Back when Down with the Sickness and Stupefy and all that stuff was written. This is actually written before that.
Resurrecting the song after 10 years with David.
Danny and Mikey, we're like, well, we want to bring back Divide and Perfect Insanity.
See if our songs could stand the test of time and still be cool 10 years later.
Divide, I hadn't even heard ever until the day I recorded that one. I showed up and they're like, oh yeah, well there's a song called Divide. We were gonna send it to you, but we thought, you just come in and you'd track it.
Divide. Which I heard for the first time last night.
Divide is meant to detract from the whole idea of, let's all be one, let's all be united. Fuck that. Be yourself, be an individual, stand out, make your mark, make an impact.
With the way that this record was shaping up, we felt that these two songs in particular really would meld together really well with the rest of the new material.
You know, these older songs that for some reason never got onto the first record.
We weren't happy with them at the time, so they sort of got shelved. You know, you listen back to the old demo and you're like, how did I play that again? What was that?
I listened to the old version of Perfect Insanity, the old demo version, like before we were signed, before anything, and I listened to it and I said, oh my God.
You remember that or not? Vaguely. I'm gonna have to study that shit.
What were we thinking?
Night and day isn't even a clear enough distinction.
I mean, granted, it's old as hell, but
super old.
That kind of actually forced us to kind of look at how far we've come. Because you look at what your skill level was back then and what you're able to do and what you could put on tape, and then you take the same song with your new skills and your new abilities that you've acquired from years of touring and years of writing, revamp it, re-record it. Compare the two, it's pretty shocking.
It was bad.
Branded like an animal, I can still feel the burn in my mind to believe that you made your message clear.
It's good to know that we've grown.
Now I have no idea what happens beyond this point. I don't remember.
To us, those songs stood the test of time. A hook is a hook. If you got a hook, you catch the fish.
Not being too familiar with what was there before, it kind of allowed me just to do my own thing and not feel like I'm constrained or I have to write a certain way.
We thought if we resurrected those songs and spiced them up a little bit more, that would get us on path of the vibe of what we wanted this record to kind of go towards. Especially the vocal delivery that David had.
Only on the sign, saying I've lost my mind.
That animalistic, in your face, just pure attitude delivery to it.
Perfect example of having somebody come in with fresh ears and then just started throwing up a bunch of different rhythmic patterns, trying to tie in what happens at the end of the song with the said I've lost my mind, I've lost my mind. We were trying to toy with an idea and all of a sudden he's like, here are your two gaps in the chorus. I'm like, yeah, but they feel kind of good to me, and because I was stuck with the old chorus idea in my head.
Just in the gaps. Try again.
just in the gaps.
He threw in, I think I'm losing my mind, I think I'm losing my mind. You know, I'm like, wait a minute, that's really good. Let's try that.
Go ahead.
End of song. It brings it back in, you know?
Dude, try that again. That was cool.
It brought the chorus up a ways. It was a really good suggestion of his. Danny's solo work on this record, I think, is the best he's ever done.
I wanted to kind of do a lot of things that I've learned over the years. So there's some whammy bar stuff, and there's some finger tapping stuff, and there's some arpeggio stuff.
One of my favorite solos is on a song called Torn.
Solo for Torn.
Really vibey, very full, complete solo. It's not just a shredding solo.
A little bit sludgier song and darker, but that solo was just, pure feel. I felt like I was just digging into the vibe of that song, just trying to get a little bit more soulful. I think that one always got a big reaction out of the other guys and out of a few of the chosen few that were able to hear the stuff early on before anyone else.
You'll see, somewhere this record cycle, he's actually going to have his own solo during the live set. Outside of a song, it's going to happen. Danny, yeah, I'm looking at the camera this fucking time. You're going to have your own solo, goddamn. Good.
Dave's been pushing me in the direction of bringing more of that to the live show.
Big ones too.
Yeah.
Big solos.
That's right. They're all big solos.
They are songs in and of themselves. They are hooks in and of themselves. That's kind of the way Danny does the solos. It's not just about, ripping as fast as possible, although he can rip with the best of them.
As long as it's done tastefully and there's a point for doing it, then I like it.
Actually, switch to the orangey, I think, if you don't.
Orangey.
Orange. Oh, God.
Well, now we refer to it as the orangey?
I don't know.
I got a little confused
What is
for a
it?
second.
Fucking orangey.
I thought I was in a room with men.
Now, to me, this is a band effort, and I know it's an opportunity for each one of us to kind of shine for a moment there. I like to shine within the song with the other three guys and doing our thing.
He's, in my opinion, among the best in existence, and he doesn't give himself enough credit.
I'm sure he's gonna keep pushing me, and I'll probably work on something, and if it's something that makes sense and there's a vibe and a certain thing to add to the live element, then I'll head in that direction.
I was wondering what you were struggling with there.
At least you get to pick up a drumstick and continue, pick up a new one. Try breaking a string and getting through the rest of the song.
The trials and tribulations of being a guitar player. Yes, people hand me my shit. Man.
And you're kind of, my stick broke. What am I gonna do?
People hit the pedals for me. I get to be the fucking guy with my foot on the monitor that all the chicks want to bang. Oh, it's so horrible.
One of my favorite songs on the record is Inside the Fire.
Probably one of the darker songs on the record, I would think. How about writing it about standing over the body of my dead girlfriend who just killed herself because of me? The voice in the song, the person singing, is meant to be the voice of the devil. He's talking to me over my shoulder, trying to convince me to take my life as well so that I could still be with her.
Just let her live then.
I didn't kill her. She killed herself. Lyrically, God, I was a bitch.
Since it was able to work in the second verse as Sever, maybe there's a never.
But it's not just that. Then I have to adjust all this. It's changing the whole way that the story is told. And that's the whole point, is that this is telling a story. It was the 11th track that we tracked. And one of the lines in the song is Devin, 1 of 11.
Is there a significance of Devin 1 of 11?
Mm-hmm. Big family. When I was first doing the scat bullshit version of it, almost every word in it was 11, 11, 11, 11. The whole song all the way through gibberish was, because not too many things rhyme with the fucking word. Instead of come and leave with me, you can give your soul to me for eternity. A little
I think
stronger.
that's way cooler and way darker too.
Yeah. Let me tell you, that was a battle. That was a battle.
You get to hear Dave laugh. Everybody thinks that Dave's such a serious guy that he doesn't have a comical side. Well, he laughs.
This stuff's pretty challenging stuff.
Yeah, get on your way, get some get-up going.
Danny's wailing on this record. And, not just solo-wise, but even some of his rhythms. Really intense stuff.
Well, what happened is, the riffs are so powerful that the cab is falling apart, literally. It's coming unscrewed and unglued. So we have to fix it, because we like this cab.
There's a section where Danny and I are playing together. I mean, to pay homage to our heroes, Pantera, it's just straight up him and I just riffing out together. They had a different bridge written for it. And then it wasn't quite working out, so he came up with something new. So I didn't even know that there was going to be something new until I showed up a couple days before we went in the studio. He's like, there's this riff here. And he's like, I don't know what you're going to do there. I was like, I want to play that riff.
Danny's got pretty wide hands, so he can spread his fingers pretty good on the fretboard.
And of course, on bass, it's a little harder. The strings are thicker, frets are wider apart.
John's hands are smaller, so he had some challenges too.
And we just started jamming it together. It was cool. And of course, it ends with Danny going do 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 do. Wow.
Yeah, it's like upper fret, upper fret, upper fret. Like, I know what it is.
Upper fret, upper fret, upper fret, upper fret.
I could see it being a good live song for us. In the early stages of Indestructible, as we were tracking it, it was called Defend.
What was Defend has now become Indestructible.
With Indestructible, it was a completely different song.
I think there was room for an improvement on it.
If it's a matter of adding something percussive or something sonically that'll help the feel of that rhythm a little bit more, I think that's something that's maybe doable.
Sometimes you don't know until you lay the idea down to tape.
Try the in-between muted way. I like that.
Exactly how all the elements are going to combine.
I like Defend's verse and Indestructible's chorus.
I wonder if there's just a way to composite the two.
Indestructible?
I think the chorus is good.
With that being said, you know, David rethought a lot of what he was doing.
Musically, it didn't change much, but melodically and lyrically, it completely changed. I guess I was immediately turned off by the tonality of it. I studied the shit out of it, obviously, last night because I wanted to see what else I could do.
It's a challenging moment because you don't want to discourage anybody.
I completely rewrote the song in the studio.
It's exactly the same tracks. We didn't redo anything yet because we were trying to change the vocal, and it just makes the whole entire song sound so fucking different.
I knew that pushing David would also get him to better certain things too.
Anything else?
I mean, besides comping and flying that around, is it enough to have it a little bit stripped down in the first two, and then are you only going to have these harmonies in the last two?
Before we commit to this, you know, let's see if we can improve on it.
That intro piece where I do the spoken word oath of enlistment, I don't think it's working. It would be cool to have a song that's about war and starting to go into battle start with an air raid sound.
My level of respect for David as a singer and his level of respect that he has in return for what I do on the music end of things is mutual.
But I like the vibe of it.
You know, there's more stereo effect of you know the bombs and the machine guns and shit. You know.
I think that you always have to be open to all kinds of possibilities, and you also have to be willing to accept criticism, which isn't easy. No, it doesn't have to. It's just on some of them it'll end up rubbing. On some of the notes of the melody, that one note all the way through is going to rub.
Kind of have to have that discussion of saying, hey Dave, I know you just tracked your idea, but I think we can maybe rethink it and go back to the drawing board.
Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to either fix it or do what you can to strengthen it.
No, I just changed the melody right on that spot so it doesn't sound as redundant, you know.
Like go up a little bit.
For David to have to, you know, go home and maybe be a little bummed out or discouraged that we weren't feeling the song as much.
I will try and move forward as much as I can.
Yeah, keep on.
All right. Thank you. Good luck, gentlemen.
Ended up getting him to step up his game even more and make it undeniable that it was huge.
Kind of need to really look at everything under the magnifying glass and see, okay, really, what is this? And if it isn't what I think it is, how do I either fix it or how do I get rid of it and start fresh?
It's definitely where it needs to be complementary of the music, you know?
Absolutely.
It's definitely, you know, by far, no question.
And it was over the top. It was catchier, it was hookier, the chorus was, you know, in your face.
It actually ended up becoming strong enough to be the title track.
We've been with each other long enough and we know each other's role and we respect what everybody brings to the table. And we've, you know, shot a few text messages back to each other, and him, you know, sending me the text message back after he rethought it and came up with something way cooler and said, you know, thanks brother, thanks for pushing me. Sometimes I need that.
At this point, everybody knows that, you know, we got the green light and we continued on and we finished the record and everyone's ecstatic about it. This record took probably the longest to name.
The first working title we were considering was The Night because it was the first track we wrote and it was just the first sense of the direction of the album.
If we're trying to go back, if we're going for a sickness vibe, well then let's go.
The song Defend eventually got changed and turned into Indestructible. Once David changed the title of the song, we thought it just made a bigger statement.
You know, kind of symbolizes the fact that we're still fucking here, that we haven't been destroyed, that we withstood the test of time.
It was like, wow, this is a really cool song. It could possibly be the title of the record.
Usually there's some name or phrase sort of sums up, you know, what the vibe of the record's about. So this was Indestructible, and it is an aggressive record. This record's about kicking ass.
It's universal, that title, you know. It's not just to soldiers, and like you said, it's our career, it's everything. It's an athlete.
We feel that we've become indestructible to be able to survive this long in the business and continuing success with it.
I think that says everything.
We have been through a lot. No matter what gets thrown at us as a band.
Bullshit! Fuck!
Oh, what the hell was that?
No matter what happens in the musical environment, we're still here, we're still viable and still standing.
You think they're Stan?
Pretty fucking good.
Little indestructible. Like the lights that you use when you're fucking filming us.
We've been very fortunate to be able to still maintain the level of success that we've been able to have. And it's obviously all about our fans.
We're psyched to have this record done, and we feel like it's the best stuff we've done to date.
This record is from the heart. We give our fans a lot of what they expect from Disturbed, a lot of what they fell in love with the band for.
Indestructible is meant to be the soundtrack for strength. Time and time again, people have told us, we listen to your music when we work out, we listen to your music when we're playing sports, we listen to your music when we go into battle. Figured, well, we've heard enough of it. Let's give them exactly what they want to use it for.
The real deal here. This is the full package.
We're looking forward to playing this stuff live. The high level of excitement on all of us to really get out there and have 4 albums of material to go out there and play.
Hope everybody gets ready and hope everybody digs it. We're gonna come to your town and kick your fucking ass and maybe even break shit afterwards.
You wanna see Mike break shit? Yeah!